steps in Iran after deadly protests. Hogs celebrate Iranian protests, then celebrate ICE killing Americans. Iran protests turn deadly. Trump wants to bully the Fed with criminal charges so he can molest the money. I'm back. And yes, we got Scott Wiener. We'll talk about Scott Wiener capitulating to the woke mob and recognizing the reality that Israel is committing a genocide. I mean, I know we can get started on that very shortly, very quickly. For those of you who don't know, Senator, California State Senator Scott Wiener is like, he's a pretty decent YIMBY style state senator. You know, there's some good, there's some bad there, right? But of course, he was also a fairly rapacious Zionist throughout this entire process for the last 2 years as Israel committed a genocide. And I mean, he was pretty aggressive. Like, he was pretty aggressive in his the way that he approached the subject matter. He was certainly very outspoken in defense of Israel. He met up with politicians from Israel, including the president. He actively, as Tyler Oakley presents here, summarizes here, tried to get pro-Palestine academics fired, led a group of California legislators to meet with the Israeli government, smeared Jewish Voice for Peace as bigots, and also co-sponsored legislation to ban teaching about Palestine in California schools. And now Scott Wiener is running for office, running for Nancy Pelosi's seat alongside Saikat Tribarti and a bunch of other people. Now, for that reason, I fucked up his last name. Chakrabarti. And Saikat has some good and some suspicious aspects to his run as well, but I can't tell if you're doing a bit, but it's Wiener, by the way. Oh, sorry, I wasn't. In any case, it's Shoikat. He's Bengali. Okay, Hasan, you're a clown. Wow, I'm glad to be back, everybody, so that people could come in and do that. Okay, so Shoikat. I don't believe Scott Wiener is honest in the statement, but it's encouraging that he feels the need to do this. It shows a real shift in the primary electorate that being pro-Israel is now a liability. It absolutely is. And yes, that's precisely what's going on here. Okay? So here's how it actually started. So they're all running for Nancy Pelosi's seat, right? And there was this conference taking place where all the candidates are they have these paddles, yes and no paddles. Okay? They have these yes and no paddles. And with the yes and no paddles, they're asking them a bunch of questions like, oh, do you believe this? Do you believe that? Here's the video where the question is, is Israel committing a genocide? So they're all pro-Medicare for all.
Is Israel committing genocide in Gaza?
You don't want to look like that, man. You don't want to be out there looking like that, California State Senator Scott Wiener. You don't want that, okay? Sitting there looking like that. Rough. No answer is the worst answer? Yeah. In any case, I mean, he has done a lot of stuff. Yesterday, the president of Sonoma State University aligned with the campus with BDS, a movement whose goal is the destruction of Israel, home to 7 million Jews, all this stuff. Like, he has been a pretty active supporter of Israel throughout this entire process. Like, pretty vicious. Yeah. AB 715 threatens to censor Palestine in schools. AB 715 is a dangerous bill that threatens free speech and curriculum in California classrooms, championed by Jewish Legislative Caucus member Senator Scott Wiener, and Assembly Jesse Gabrielle and Rick Spoor. This bill is a coordinated effort to stifle any criticism of Israel and censor Palestine within California public education under the guise of combating anti-Semitism. Last week, I co-led a legislative delegation to Israel with both Jewish and non-Jewish legislators and several community organizations. This was in 2014, okay? This was in the month of February in 2014. So make no mistake, this was very deliberate. This was on purpose. He did this after Israel had... Or am I saying 2014? 2024. God damn it. Not 2014. I apologize. 2024. This is after October 7th. And during this devastating time of war and violence, we met with a variety of leaders, he says. And, you know, the variety of leaders includes the president of Israel. So he gets yelled at, understandably. Cries of free Palestine can be heard. People wearing keffiyehs. And I suspect that, you know, I'm glad, trigger warning, by the way, you know, a heinous act of anti-Semitism took place here, of course. This is, you know, trigger warning for everybody. Obviously, probably the most anti-Semitic thing that you've ever experienced, that you've ever seen, is taking place, unfolding right in front of your eyes, where you have someone who wants to be a representative refusing to recognize that Israel's committing a genocide, a foreign country is committing a genocide, and then people, of course, say free Palestine. I mean, basically, this is what happened in Nazi Germany, I think, you know. They say, answer the question, Scott. And then they say, shame on you, which, once again, only doubling down on the unimaginable maximum anti-Semitism. Sorry that I had to put you guys through that. Obviously, you know, this is a heinous act. An act so heinous that the entirety of the New York Democratic Party should probably come out in unison and speak out against this heinous act of anti-Semitism, even though it's happening across the nation. I mean, I suspect that there will be a coordinated statement coming any moment now, because I can't. This is traumatic. Okay, so, but one thing that I think is good. Okay, one thing that I think is good here is that after that experience, Scott Wiener literally turned around and was like, "Hey guys, just wanted to say, actually, genocide is happening. I'm now officially recognizing the genocide. I've had an epiphany." Now, do I believe this? Not even a little bit. Okay, not even a little bit. Okay, but bro switched up on Israel. No new friends. If I am the president of Israel, right, I'm thinking to myself, wow, I never believed in magic until all my dogs turn into snakes. Okay? I'm just saying, Scott, I thought you were a real one. I thought you were a real combater of anti-Semitism, and now you are disseminating anti-Semitism. It's really messed up. Okay? I love Israel, bruh. Me too. Okay. 2026 is the year where I pivot. I switch up on everybody. I'm pro-Israel now. Okay. So, AB 715 wasn't just bad because of his content, but it was rammed through the last day of the session where they gave notice of the Senate committee hearing at like 3 a.m., 6 hours before, giving no time for the opposition to organize against it. Talking to people at the Capitol, they said they'd never seen anything so flagrant. Yeah. So, I mean, the way I'm like, I can't even think of anything more anti-Semitic. I guess like sometimes when I think of Miss Rachel, that's like, it makes me so mad. I think children learning. Okay. So Scott has this take. Let's take a look.
For those of you who saw the debate clip from last week, I want to clarify that I do believe Israel has committed genocide in Gaza, and I want to explain why I hesitated at the debate.
This motherfucker is 6'7", by the way. Don't even meme about that. It's not even on some meme shit. Literally 6'7". What the fuck are we doing? Brother, what are you doing? What are you doing in Congress? What are you doing in California Senate? Like, You should be out there balling. You should be hooping. Ridiculous. Okay. 6'7", don't know ball. What the fuck are we doing? Okay. What a waste. What a waste. Yeah. Go grab a rebound. Okay.
For the past 2 years, I have harshly opposed Israel's escalations in Gaza, and I've used phrases like total destruction and catastrophic levels of death and moral stain. But I haven't used the word genocide, and I want to explain why. As a Jew, I am deeply aware that the word genocide was created in the wake of the Holocaust, which was the industrial extermination of...
Wait, what? That's not even true. No, it was the Armenian genocide. Brother, what is going on, man? What is happening? No, it was the Armenian genocide. That was the initial like conceptualization of genocide and wholesale extermination. And obviously genocides had taken place before, guys. I'm just saying the word, the invention of the word, or like it coming to prominence is I believe the Armenian genocide. It wasn't the Holocaust. Legally, the word genocide wasn't used until the Holocaust and the Nuremberg trials. Yeah, but even then, it's not. This is not correct. If he's talking about the Genocide Convention, sure, which is ironic because the guys who wrote the Genocide Convention very quickly, years before, admit you're wrong. Hasan, I'm shaking my head. Yeah, the term genocide was coined by Polish Jewish lawyer Raphael Lemkin in the early 1940s. Again, shouts out to the Lemkin Institute. Guess who fucking recognized Israel doing a genocide maybe 2 years prior to Scott Wiener? The Lemkin Institute. So what are we even talking about? Not only, like, there is nothing salvageable here, okay? Not only is it incorrect and it's wrong, but it's ridiculous. Yeah. There it is. Polish Jewish lawyer Raphael Lemkin coined the term genocide between 1941 and 1943. Lemkin's coinage combined the Greek word genos, race, people, with the Latin suffix seido, act of killing. As a law student, his interest in the subject was initially sparked by the Armenian genocide. Okay? In any case, this is not even an adequate argument to deny the current, ongoing genocide that Israel is doing. But Lemkin came up with the word in the 40s, citing the Armenian genocide, but the word itself was in his book, Axis Rule in Occupied Europe, about the Holocaust. Okay. In any case, also industrial genocide is basically every genocide that could be done with modern weapons. So you don't deny it? Deny what? The word was coined during the Holocaust, but he used Armenia as the basis to label the Holocaust as a genocide. The two go together because it creates a policy basis that genocides are not aberrant. Anyway, okay. Now that you guys learned a little bit more about Raphael Lemkin's coinage of the term genocide, shouts out to Scott for this take. The point that actually matters here is this is utterly irrelevant. Okay, the Holocaust is not like a special form of genocide. It is industrialized massacre, and it was heavily documented and studied extensively, but it's certainly not the only version of genocide that has taken place. Okay? Like the exceptionalist nature of looking at the Holocaust, especially when you even consider like what Germans did to other places even before internally committing this fascist act. Colonialism turned inwards, as we like to say. That's what fascism is. There have been industrialized massacres, never to the same extent and never to the same, I guess, rapid acceleration, severity. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is not simply over semantics. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because this sort of exceptionalization of the Holocaust, especially in the direction of defending the current ongoing Israeli genocide, is disgusting. That's the reason why I'm like, this is not just like a misunderstanding or a simple disagreement. I think this is very deliberate. And it's probably not even being conducted intentionally. Like, I don't think that Scott knows what he's saying. I think this is so baked in to the consciousness of people who get a lot of Zionist indoctrination early on that he's having even when he is having a conversation about like recognizing the Israeli genocide, he just automatically drops a couple lines in there that the trained ear can pick up on. And this is one of those things. Okay?
I am deeply aware that the word genocide was created in the wake of the Holocaust, which was the industrial extermination of 6 million Jews. For many Jews, associating the word genocide with the Jewish state of Israel is deeply painful and frankly traumatic. But despite that pain,
like the gall, the audacity, you know what I mean? Like think about the like even this assessment, even this statement in and of itself betrays the severity, betrays the real death toll that Scott is supposed to recognize here, or rather the real violence that he is supposed to be taking ownership over in terms of his recognition, right? And in terms of his own actions that he is supposed to be saying, my bad, over, right? Like, there is no other world where you can say, oh, well, like, this would be akin to a German person saying, like, well, Germany suffered tremendous hardships in the wake of World War I, so I felt some type of way about taking ownership over the Holocaust because, like, we had been wronged, Like, so it's just it's very difficult for me to take ownership over this in some way, shape, or form. Like, not even a German in Germany, by the way. I'm talking about like a German in America, right? If you were to say something like that, because of the severity of the crime itself, the Holocaust, people would look at you and go, what the fuck are you saying? But here in the United States of America in 2026, because of our mutual understanding that like genocide is just a word, basically, okay, that genocide is simply just a word, right? You can kind of get away with saying something like this where you're like, yeah, my personal feelings on this issue are far more important as a Jewish person. Like, the importance of the word genocide for me and the severity of that word overrode my clear and calm assessment of what Israel was doing. Like, this is not a very good way to make up for all of the advocacy that you did for the last 2 years against those who had arrived at this position far before you did, right? Do you guys understand what I'm trying to say here? Like, I think this is the reason why I think this is already insincere. The good and the bad is this. It's bad because it's obviously fucking insincere. He has a lot more to do in terms of making up for it, and I don't even know if he would be able to make up for it in time for the actual election. But the good thing here, the silver lining here, is that he even feels the need to come out and say that this is, a real recognition of genocide, because he understands that now, if you want to win an election, you have to say that. You have to say the truth. He has to do this. And to me, that actually is another clear indication of this massive sea change, this massive tide shift.
And that trauma, we all have eyes, and we see the absolute devastation and catastrophic death toll in Gaza inflicted by the Israeli government. And we all have ears, and we hear the genocidal statements by certain senior members of the Israeli government. And to me, the Israeli government has tried to destroy Gaza and to push Palestinians out, and that qualifies as genocide.
Performative male behavior. That's funny. True. So, yeah, I mean, there's still obviously like the whole, oh, it's just like some members of the Israeli government are doing this, and it's not like being loudly fucking cheered on or anything like that. And this is the worst of both worlds for someone like Scott, because when he comes out and says this, he's not going to get any grace from the anti-Zionists, obviously, because we all know what he was up to for the last 2 years. He's also not going to get any grace from the Zionists, because they're going to be like, how dare you betray your own people? Like, this is what the fuck? How dare you recognize that there is a genocide at all? There is no genocide. That's blood libel. It's utterly preposterous, and basically, you know, you're cooked. I think. I don't know. I feel like this is totally ridiculous. Like, he should have fucking slammed the yes if he wanted to. If I was his campaign manager, I would have told him to slam that yes ASAP, and then also do a follow-up video being like, hey guys, I know I've done a lot of fucked up shit, but I just wanted to clarify certain things, okay? This, on the other hand, is the worst possible way to deal with this. Stop Anti-Semitism replied to him and said they still support him because he believes in Zionism. I think they also see this as an opportunist statement, and he doesn't actually mean it. But in the opposite direction, yeah, true. Maybe. But like I said, the very fact that a person who was so loud and so proud in defending Israel for the last 2 years, coming out and having to do this, like, I'm really sorry for what I did moment, like, it is truly, for those who have been around, for those who are aware of Palestine, for those who are engaging in anti-Zionist, pro-Palestinian advocacy for a lot longer than, you know, post-October 7, this is a very interesting moment. It's a very interesting moment to observe. You know, because I never in a million years would have thought that you would have a Zionist state senator from the state of California who has actively defended Israel over and over again turn around and be like, actually, Israel is doing a genocide, even if he doesn't fucking sincerely believe it. You know what I mean? It's a huge sea change. Take the W where you can, I guess. What is this? Hasan, I want to hold your feet to the fire on this. Do you want to elaborate on how you're comparing broken German pride over losing a war they themselves started to an innocent population of women and children being gassed at an industrial scale? I get the point they were trying to make, but there's no equivalence to be drawn between the Holocaust and Germany losing a war itself. It started as an chatter. The comparison that I was making is not one in defense of Nazi Germany or in defense of like American Germans' feelings over the Holocaust. I think you misunderstood the point that I was making. In order for this to work, in order for this analogy to work in the way that you thought it worked, I would have to be pro Nazi Germany or pro Holocaust. The comparison I was making is, it is utterly irrelevant what the personal feelings of a Zionist congressperson when making, like, when you're talking about something as severe as genocide taking place. That's the reason why I use this analogy. The crime is far too severe for you to be talking about your own personal feelings about what words mean to you internally. You get what I mean? That's the reason why I used that analogy. I used an analogy from something that everybody understands, at least hopefully, I think people still understand that there is like shared consensus over that the Holocaust was a horrifying crime against humanity. I'm not so certain anymore because I feel like have been real initiatives to undermine the depravity there as well. To some success, unfortunately, but at least for the time being, while we still have that consensus opinion, I'll lean into that to, make these sorts of analogies. Give it 0 more years. I know. Give it, give it a couple months. What do people even get from lessening Holocaust? Fascism. If you can soften the blow of the Holocaust, or if you can like undermine the history, if you can undermine the historically relevant facts that led to the Holocaust, you can make an argument for fascism without people looking at you funny. Because right now, one of the major hurdles that this administration is trying to clear very aggressively is openly taking ownership over, white nationalism and fascism. And they're trying to launder fascism, but in a more American way for American sensibilities. And it's happening every day. It's happening all around us. It's something that I think many people are aware of, right? So if they were to chip off the historical consensus on built around accurate reporting of the death toll in the Holocaust, they can turn around and say that fascism wasn't all that bad. It was actually a totally appropriate defense mechanism against Jews who have historically lied about the Holocaust and the death toll, things like that. So that's the goal of fascists, is to normalize and expand on the permission structure so that other people can self-identify as overt fascists. And a big part of the reason why, at least in the United States of America and certainly in the Western world, the reason why we look at fascism as this terrifying, dangerous thing, and the reason why we even hold the Holocaust as almost an exceptional event, in spite of the tremendous amounts of colonial violence that all of these countries, including Germany, has subjected others to, has led to an environment where there is censorship surrounding fascism still to a certain degree that has at least caused fascists to mobilize and organize around these hurdles rather than directly mobilizing and organizing by leaning in to the historical fascist movements, openly. They're bad guys. It's a bad ideology.